In the bottom left of Tokamak, we have Foxer. And in the top right, we have Mute. I feel like the Broodlord speed reduction was unnecessary, full stop. I mean, I don't think the Broodlord's in a really good place right now. I think, you know, its identity has already been lost a lot. I think its siege-breaking, you know, slow, late-game siege-breaker position in the game was already questioned. Just with how the game has evolved and everyone's gotten faster in a game that already lets you be so fast. But they need to make the Broodlords also fast, which is what they've done in previous patches. They've increased their speed. Then it's kind of like, what is it really? I mean, it's... I'm not going to say it was necessary or not necessary. I just think the Broodlords are in a very tricky position to be balanced. Or just, you know, design. You know, let's talk of Widowmine scare off new players. I feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about that because Artosis mentioned it, and Artosis obviously gets a lot of views. Personally, I haven't had... I never counted how many complaints people go up to talk to me about when they go up to talk to me about StarCraft. I know that Widowmines are a complaint, but I don't really know how many are actually turned off because of Widowmines. I know a lot of people come up to me and say they're turned off from playing 1v1 because it's so fucking hard. Widowmines are no. I don't mind the idea of EMP at all, actually. The idea, I think, is totally fine. We do have the TvP, of course, before us, so the Broodlord talk is very unnecessary. It's not important. Far more important is, yeah, to talk about TvP. So, Mute going for a regular open, actually going into a Sentry, which is still kind of normal, but is going to give him a lot of good scouting. Fox are going 1x. Oh, no, Factory Expand. Factory Expand. We're going to get some extra Reapers. We are. Seems to be a very popular build lately amongst the Terrans in this matchup. Double Shield Battery coming out from Mute, though, and I do like that. As I've said in previous casts, you know, Classic does this. Feels like he doesn't really get any problems from it. Even against the tippity-tip top of Terran players. So... this is going to help protect him against something like this opener, which is so popular, and we're probably going to see the, you know, the multiple Reapers, multiple Hellions gets popular, Protoss get double shield battery every single time. Terran players stop doing it because the shield batteries really stop them from finding any damage, and then Protoss players stop building shield batteries, and then Terrans start doing it again. And thus the cycle of life continues. But for right now, Mute has got 2 shield batteries. He's got a couple of Stalkers on the high ground, a Sentry, just sending out the hallucination to get just the tiniest bit of heads up. That's an F2 right there. Just for a second. As I said, with the shield battery and the Stalkers responding as well, it just isn't going to take a lot of damage from this. And a lot of damage is the key thing. You might still lose a couple of probes just being slightly out of position. Maybe the Reapers do get into the main and pierce through that shield battery. Lucid Phoenix did die, but got technically the scout that it wanted. Well, it's all 1-1-1. No add-on. No add-on. Saw a Widowmine, so almost surely going to be a Widowmine drop. And then didn't see the barracks, so... yeah, you assume it's barracks. In my eyes, if they're... you know, I've seen people post as well. Like, I stopped playing StarCraft because of Widowmines. I feel like, oh god, this is a bad drop, first of all. Foxer wanted that to be probably from such an unorthodox position that, like, it kind of the it's so obvious it works kind of thing, right? Instead of going around and through where the Stalkers might be waiting here. I think he was trying to go for kind of a clever move in through the middle. That did not work. And so without that secondary form of aggression, the first form of aggression also is unable to do very much. Foxer's opener getting completely just slapped. And Mute's going to go into a 2-base Temple Archives, a priority first and foremost, so really delaying that third Nexus. Now getting up to 3 gateways as well, but I mean, a very, very safe opener from Mute could turn into aggression as well. Foxer has to be mindful of that. Losing most of his early game units. Still does not see the Templar Archive. Sees a late third, though. Here's a Hellion getting in, scouting the Templar Archive's timing. And now priority, I would say, is making sure either you're going to punish this somehow, which I don't think Foxer can do. Yeah, nope. Not really a possibility with how conservative Mute's playing. And then, if you can't do that, probably have to turtle to a certain degree. You just do not want to be pushing out, even if it is technically the time for Terran to move out, into someone who could have charge outs coming from any direction, could have storms coming from any direction. It's difficult. Avoid Templar, I think, for that Prime sub. But yeah, anyway, if it's not Wintermines, I feel like, you know, a lot of people who play StarCraft 2 casually would obviously not like Storm. Like, I mean, Storm, as much as it is talked about as far as the higher leagues, is also, I think, one of the biggest, what's the word, low-level frustration, I guess? Does that sound mean? It is, if you're a gold player, if you're a gold Terran going up against a gold Protoss, Storms can feel incredibly overpowered, but that is going to be StarCraft. It is overall a difficult game. And I struggle to place the blame of people leaving on one unit. 2 Medivacs flying on through. Do unload on the other side of the minerals so they can stim to win. Mute does not see this, so very nicely positioned. These 2 Stalkers will be taken down ASAP. Foxer needs to be careful, though, even though this is just a drop and not a full-on push-out. So the feedbacks plus Link Stalkers. Those Medivacs could be in some trouble. They are not this time around. Does get out just in the nick of time. Because Storm is done. High Templars, one of them was warped in, but not in position. The rest of them got warped in. More are coming in as well. And you do want some amount of... wait. Did he... Where'd the other Medivac go? Isn't that 2 Medivacs? And he lost... The only one he lost was a Widowmine drop? Are those 2 Medivacs? Whoa, I couldn't even tell! Whoa, that's perfect! Broke my brain. Anyway. You want some amount of aggression, I guess, like keeping tabs on your opponent, especially if they don't end up being aggressive at all, if they just like continue to expand and double upgrade behind this Storm High Templar opener. And 2 drops. I mean, this actually seems very well, okay, the main base not looking so great. I was gonna say it seems very worth it, because Mute isn't moving out. And if Foxer plays this delicately, I guess is the best way to put it, then continue keeping tabs on your opponent, seeing that the army's not moving out, building a better army while getting up to Ghost back at home. Can all be great. Well, the concern I have is absolutely that a Protoss gets, you know, a little drop there, a little drop there, shuts them both down, immediately counterattacks, and the Terran feels regretful that they ever moved out in the first place. Not the case so far. You're playing very defensive. Was not, you know, even wanting really to threaten the full-on attack. Now grabbing the 4th after his 3rd is saturated. All the gas is taken. Lots of High Templars scattered around, protecting all the bases. 2nd Forge on the way. 2nd Robo and Robotics base. So getting up to those Colossus. And inevitably into Disruptors. Well, say inevitably. It does seem to be a personal choice. But we'll see. Ghosts are out. And yes, they have some more health and they're less supply. Isn't that great? I don't know if it's really the most effective thing in this matchup, but it is a change. It is a change. You know, and they're light, so the Ghost can take more damage versus those Colossus. Nice eyes for Foxer. That's the 2nd Observer that he has killed. Blinding Mute to a certain degree. Mute does have double Robo now, so replacing them isn't super problematic. Probably wants at least 1. Eventually, Cloak on the Ghost is not a bad upgrade to get, just in case they can. Oh, the micro. The micro! Dropping on the high ground. Going after the High Templars with an aggressive EMP move is really cool. But unfortunately, this is almost never the actual amount of High Templars the Protoss has. I mean, seriously, if this was all the High Templars the Protoss had, first of all, that's not many, and one still has a lot of Storm. Second of all, that would just be probably bad Protoss play. You should always have a backup Storm, or 2, or 3. Meet with an overall supply lead. Equal upgrades currently. Gets that Storm in the heart of the army. And another Storm. Just barely not killing a lot of these units. Everyone's still getting used to the duration, even without being 6 seconds instead of 8. As they run back into it accidentally. Scanning ahead, still sees no other High Templar, but that is a lie. That is false. Do not believe it. Colossus is about to show up too, and that just puts a damp rag over this push, I feel like. I mean, one Colossus isn't usually that bad, but I know there's other High Templar, and that's what really makes it bad. We've got 2 very strong options here from Mute, as well as still equal upgrades. A stimmed army that it continues to have to stim. Foxer doesn't want to give up ground completely, but this isn't really working out in his favor. Now down 30 overall supply. 3rd base is saturated for Foxer. 4th base is trying to get on the way here. That Viking production is late. You do not have the full comprehensive Terran army. And now it's going to start falling behind in those upgrades with Mutes +2 near completion. 2-2 then on the way. Foxer not going to find any aggression in the mid-game. I would say at this point in time, you do kind of acknowledge that and say, well, yeah, that's not going to work. Go into Liberators. And that's exactly what it seems to be doing. He does grab a 2nd starport at the very least. No fusion core as of yet, though, so I could be wrong. This might just be for Viking production, which he does need. I mean, he needs something to deal with the Colossus. But what sucks is that I would suspect you would like to be going into Liberators at this point, actually. You'd already have 6 to 8 Vikings, at least. Although it is only 1 Colossus, you really don't need that many Vikings. Oh, there's the 2nd one. There's 3rd. There they are. Okay, there you go. So yeah, at least 8 Vikings. And then adding in a couple of Liberators to help against the inevitable ping-ponging that Mute's going to do. He's going to go Planetary hit, 3rd base hit, Warp Prism in the main, you know, all that good jazz. Although he doesn't have a Warp Prism. Yes, he does. Coming on over. Just an offensive, full-on attack to the main base, or not the main base, but the command center. Looks like it might work anyway. But again, he could add in other attacks and really start to pull Foxer apart. Abusing this choke is sometimes a good idea, sometimes not. Planetary is done now, going to help out. EMP still available. I don't see any storms. Not out of Vikings, though, either. So the Colossus getting a lot of damage done. Army of the Terran is melting. 1 Colossus left over. How much bio? Doesn't look to be enough. Well, maybe just enough, actually. The Immortals come in. Now they can be targeted down, however. Vikings end up landing. Stalkers all by their lonesome. Not going to cut it. 2-1 finish for both parties. I think around the time they took that battle. Foxer just barely able to get enough units, but now the Zealot reinforcements come in. That Warp Prism had arrived to the front lines. Soccer chasing after the retreating Terran. Medivacs out of juice. Vikings trying to land to help out, and this will just barely be a hold once again, but the Planetary fell, and Mute is going on to 5 bases, so that's the real problem. As we look at the supply, so damn close. This looks could be anyone's game. That's just not necessarily the case. Not unless Mute really starts to over-dedicate, and I gotta say, it is almost happening. Thought that 2nd round of Zealots might do the trick, but not to be the case. Equal upgrades once again. It's not quite finding this severe overbearing upgrade lead that Mute was probably hoping for. You know, seconds away from +3. Main command center lifted over almost as soon as the Planetary died by the looks of things. So Foxer gets back onto 4 bases, mining because the main was mined out anyway. 4-3, whatever. It's still problematic. As even though he wins that battle, Mute does recognize, hey, I'm not going to win right now. I got to collect myself. Was building from the Robo back at home. Does have the entirety of the map to buy time in case Foxer immediately went for a counter, which Foxer was extremely confident in doing. I mean, he also had taken a lot of damage. He had no medevac energy. The Ghost needed to be replaced. That's very expensive. You know, it's tough because those battles, you see the Protoss start to lose out. You see them lose their Colossus. They don't have any more High Templar. Their Immortals are down. All these slow building units. The instant reinforcements are coming in as Zealots aren't quite cutting it. And you're like, well, this is hopefully where the Terran takes an edge. Yeah, if Mute just kept blindly running in over and over again, but Mute takes 30 seconds to recover. Still has those 5 bases up. Still has those upgrades finalizing. There will be an upgrade lead 100% in this upcoming battle for the Protoss. And Foxer is still in trouble. No Planetary to help out this time. Could lift it for a little extra concave. High Templar on the backside is a nice touch. There's that lift. There's that concave. Trying to win this battle. But there are 5 Colossus and only 3 Vikings. They are dealing so much damage. Foxer is not going to be able to stand up to this time. Although, once again, the concave is great. Soccer's Not the best frontliners. Colossus, the damage was extreme, but Marauders barely getting healed through it. Now they're all by their lonesome. Somehow, once again, Foxer is going to barely hold. Kind of, technically, to a degree. Not really. The Marauder micro at the end got that long lost Colossus. Was actually pretty freaking cool. Oh my god, but you were up against the ocean. This is not over. Mute. Well, he is inevitable. He is Thanos before that final movie where Thanos actually died. He's the Infinity War movie where he wins. Mute now has 3-3-1 over 2-2, as opposed to just 3-2 over 2-2. The Zealot Warpins, now even more fearsome than before. One Ghost gets the EMP on the kind of the Zealots, I guess. He does initiate the battle before the rest of the reinforcements are quite ready. Probably the best thing that Foxer could have done. Still not quite going to be enough. Storm killing a handful of medevacs as well. Vikings being shot after, opening up Mute's opportunity to go back into Colossus. If that's what he wants to do. It actually seems like he's purposefully not doing it. He's going more into a mass gateway composition. Pretty much choosing speed, I suppose, over tech power. Either one, I think, works. Could have waited for the robo units. Could just build up a gateway army. Foxer is down 50 supply. It is almost all in SCVs, but he has taken battles. Well, maybe not won them necessarily, but he has taken even battles. Maybe there was one opportunity to try and counterattack. It was a very, very, very small opportunity. Every other battle has just been holding on for dear life. And eventually that will not work. But what if they're not defensive? What do you go into a fast third and then they blink Stalker aggression you and you're just like, oh fuck. It's a tough matchup. The weak points in the Protoss's armor feels, rarer than it did, again, like a couple years ago for Terran players. And to be clear, a couple of years ago, there was this opposite thing happening where certainly the Protoss felt a complete loss of how to handle all of the tricks Terrans could throw at them. So it was imbalanced in the other way. I would say most people agree on that. That, 2 years ago, whatever it was, TvP was Terran favored. And then the last year it's been Protoss favored. And the patches have tried to address that. Have they actually done enough? I would say no. Most of the TvPs look the same. But it's always hard to tell because we do not have the tippity top players playing all the time and testing this out and kind of showing the way, which is what would usually happen. Someone really good shows the way forward and people are like, oh, that's what works. And then they copy that. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'll happen soon. Anyway, bottom left, down one, it is Foxer. Top right, it is Mute. And as much as I would just love to be like, well, Mute's playing really well. And Foxer could have done this and this and this and this. I mean, to be honest with you, Safe House is going to have a lot more of these totally blunt moments. Because that's what we do. But then second of all, I'm kind of at my tether for a lot of these TvPs. Where the Protoss is playing well. I don't want to say the Protoss is just like, lol, A move, face roll across the keyboard, blah, 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 blah. But it feels like Protoss, they've gotten a lot better overall. They also have had someone kind of show them the way and what they're supposed to do. I think MaxPax is really showing the power of Protoss as far as these kind of elongated battles, the draining of the medevac energy, the multitasking, right, that really pulls the Terran apart. But then it was also in conjunction with a patch that ended up being far more favorable for Protoss than people were expecting, which was the recharge one. So it's tough to balance, and it's tough to navigate for the Terran players as they go into a lot of these matchups and they're just immediately kind of like, well, what do I do that's tricky that tries to throw this guy off? Because I need to do something tricky. I need to do something that's a little bit Hail Mary-ish. For Mute, I think that last game proved like you could just do the same thing again. I think the elongated 2-base fast storm is just a scary style for most players to go up against, because again, finding that perfect play, that perfect style of play against it is so difficult. Where you're like, well, I'm not going to move into someone who has Charge Storm. That sounds like a disaster because I don't have any Ghosts yet. But then I don't want to just, let them get their bases and try and macro passively on my own end because I feel like they're still going to outgrow me. And finding that time of which you actually can attack them is so hard, especially if you do lose your opener. which certainly does need to be said. Foxer's opener, I mean, frankly, a disaster. Losing the Wood of Mine drop before it even gets to the probe line is actually 0 damage, right? Not even lost mining time. So that's one thing that can already go better for Foxer. Yeah, he does go for a non-Reaper opener right into the reactor, right into the Wood of Mine drops. He doesn't need a scout in his opponent, but do you need it? I mean, you can kind of just guess that they are going to go into Blink. And they are going to go into a Nexus, not a 4-gate. What you would want to scout is, do they go 2-base Storm? Do they go into a 4-gate? Do they go like 2-gateway Nexus? And that's something that you could actually say you would scout with the Medivac more so. If the Medivac gets into the main, which again last game it did not. And then you know, very clean opener here from Foxer. Last game he tried to go a little more aggressive. Factory expand, Reapers, Hellion. That didn't work. He's completely just forgone that at this point. Now being cleaner on the macro front. Hopefully puts him into a better position in the mid game. And wouldn't mind drop again. Hopefully he doesn't get shot down immediately. From Mute, he is going to prepare some units this way and that. You don't know which direction they're coming in from. Hallucination sees the follow-up. Did see a tech lab, which could have built a Banshee, but now you know it was building, you know, the Medivac and then the tech lab. Is the Wood of Mines. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Traffic jam! We're good. The traffic jam almost screwed over something. Either more probes are about to die or more army units are about to die, but fortunately, the AI barely getting those units out of the way. 3 Wood of Mines killed, 4 probes killed. Medivac seems certain to die, so overall, not the best, but better for sure than the last game. And with this cleaner opener, I do give Foxer a better chance in that more mid-game control. He did push out on his third base, was kind of stubbornly making sure he was out in the map, because I don't think I think he knows how often a third base ends up being your death trap as a Terran player. If you let the Protoss just come across the map with 3 Colossus and they start to bully you with the range, it can feel very oppressive, and he was, you know, very much not wanting to let that happen. But he didn't actually have the army to truly terrify Mute. You know, it was even in army supply, even a little bit less. The storms that were scattered around were just, you know, way too many to deal with, really. And I think that'll be a bit better looking this time around, as Foxer does get the, as I said, clean 2-base build. Getting into BIOS, Sim Comatose +1, Medivacs are on the way. Mute did go for the Templar Archives before the 3rd Nexus again. There is a moment where going into this fast of Storm does not give you a lot of units. So when I was talking about the dynamics earlier, again, I wasn't trying to say, like, this is impossible. Fox, just give up right now. But it is difficult to find those points in the Protoss defense that are truly weak. If they're playing some type of conservative style, which I would say this is. But one of them is that you're not going to have a lot of units right now, literally with this push. And Foxer has tried to make sure this build went as cleanly as possible. Looks like he's done a great job on that. Ends up finding the 3rd base totally under-defended. Storm is done, and that is a good Storm. Oh, baby. That is a good Storm, because it also barely takes out the Wood of Mines. Not before they fire, but that is also the only Storm currently. No, there was a 2nd Storm, and that 2nd Storm was all Mute needed. Oh, yeah. Oh, it kills his own Knight Templar. Oh, man. I feel like that was one of those Terran eyes get really large. Or like, that is not a Protoss army. That is a Protoss that is surprised I am already here. That is a Protoss with only 1 more Storm. Let's fucking get it. And then, well, Storms are good. So Foxer loses the army. And without an immediate follow-up, that's going to give Mute a lot of time to recover. He did not have to give up the 3rd base. He is going to kill this Medivac as well. And Foxer, well, I would still say is in a better position than last. Having dealt some damage. Having had a cleaner opener. Third TC is going to go down. 2nd army is about ready to go. Still with a slight armor supply lead. Still with an upgrade lead. You had to catch up on those upgrades last game. He did. And then obviously he got ahead eventually, but we're not there yet. And Foxer also is about to make a couple of go. Surveillance mode is going to reveal that Observer. No freebie for you. And now there could be a drop in the main base, but I think Mute is also kind of like wondering, you know, just right now, he is blind. He's very good about spreading out the storms last game, though. So there are no totally under-defended positions. Observer just caught the tail end of that medevac drop. Storm ready to go. Focus that down. Maybe just a little bit more damage done here before getting out. You do not want those stalkers chasing down every single medevac, and Blink is, of course, done. One medevac does go down. Secondary attack, sizing up the left side. Observer, I don't know if it was rallied there on purpose or not, but does see that before the stalker that was also scouting. So Mute, I mean, you know, certainly right now, limited amount of units for the Protoss, limited amount of map vision as well. Needs to make sure he's got his units ready to go in position. So far doing a great job of that. Foxer is forced to flee on both sides. And then might actually just lose every unit here. Yeah, unfortunately, that is to be the case. A couple of Marauders used to end up surviving. That's better than nothing. Scan ahead reveals the incoming army. One of mine does get a nice shot off on the Zealots. And Foxer's Ghosts are going to be coming out in the nick of time. He actually had the Ghost Scout and he wasn't quite affording them as of yet. But 3 Ghosts about to make it to the front lines. Going to buy some additional time by killing those rocks. At this point, you know, he's no longer the aggressor with 2 drops that are really threatening, or 2 attacks that are threatening. I mean, it is time to be a little scared of the incoming attack of your opponent. Foxer doing something very dangerous. He's got his drop still on the other side of the map and just picked up 3 more units. Scan reveals an army back at home. That's a good sign, I would say. Now you know you can set this up without having to worry about your base. Although you do need to still save these units. Yeah, 1 medevac will survive. Nice alternative targeting there from Mute, but still ends up 1 medevac getting away, and then did not realize 2 medevacs had gone over to the left side, and this is going to be a snipe on the Nexus. Widowmine also getting a great shot on the probes. I do believe that was retargeted. And Mute does take some severe economic damage. And Foxer not letting him get into a comfortable position. Scan once again revealing an aggressively moving army. Scouts the Observer as well. That is very important, so they can't predict kind of the ghost EMPs and where they're coming in from. War Prism is ready from Mute. He is going to go for the aggressive EMP once again on the backside. Gets a couple of High Templars, gets a second EMP as well, but still 3 High Templars with Storm. We got more EMPs. Army supply in favor of Mute. Upgrades in favor of Foxer. Foxer with a Concave and a couple of good EMPs could play. Could have a very good fight because the Widowmines are also here. And that is a very Zealot-based army. Archon's getting depleted thanks to the EMPs as well. Keep scanning ahead. Wants to know how many storms there are. There certainly seem to be 0, but you don't know what's coming forth beyond that scan. And there are 3 High Templars. The emergency High Templars, I believe, have now either been F2'd or just brought its very intention to the front lines. That would be the extent of the High Templars, if those are EMP'd as well. So Foxer making the stand where he has to. Even a snipe going off right there. Another EMP helping against the Immortals too. +2 is done for Mute. He did not get to double forge. Or he did, but not able to quite afford it. Still has 2 upgrades to his opponents. Widowmine splashing off on these Zealots. Zealots only disappearing. Nothing much left over. Archon gonna get depleted. Immortals are not gonna actually last long. There we go. And the Stalkers are also going to fall. And that, in fact, is going to be it. In Foxer's favor, Mute with the aggression tried to make the attack work, did not replace his 3rd Nexus, although he had a 4th. Not replace his 3rd. And put everything into that attack, which was not enough. Foxer's army was actually very well set up for that army of his opponent. The composition was great. The positioning was great. You know, he had those Widowmines positioned in good numbers that he could withdraw from as soon as the Zealots were let loose. The EMPs were hitting. And now the series is tied up 1-1. Top left, Foxer. Bottom left, Mute on Persephone. Foxer just felt like he had a cleaner opener, cleaner follow-up. Little bit of a ballsy decision, I think, that did start to really change the dynamic of that game. He didn't let Mute kind of take the reins and just start to bully him. Because if Foxer doesn't go for aggression, he doesn't go for that drop that kills that Nexus, he just stays at home thinking, oh my god, I'm about to be attacked. Yeah, it could have been fine. He could have defended and been fine. But it does kind of make it so that Mute is now the one deciding how things are going. You know, he's going for an attack, he sees Foxer's defending, and he says, oh, well, if you're just going to sit there, I might poke you a little bit. I might threaten you a little bit. I'm going to prioritize that 4th base. I'm going to prioritize these double upgrades. I'm going to add on 2nd robo. And I'm just going to keep you sweating as to whether or not I'm going to push into you. And that's the control, I think, that, you know, that was found in the first game, but then Foxer didn't let happen in the second game. And we'll see if he can do it again. But for Mute, you know, he went for back-to-back same builds. Wonder if he's going to change it up now that did kind of reveal a weekness. You know, the limited amount of units that he had to defend the third base and it was still budding was a problem. I mean, it actually looked like, without two perfect storms, it actually looked like that could have been game-ending. So that's got to be a little scary. The thing is, I think you can improve the defenses for Mute as well there and not have as much of a scary position. So I think he could still go for it. The fast storm over the fast third nexus. And then again, what he can also do is maybe make that actually aggressive. I mean, there are two base aggressive zealot charge storm builds, which the Terran player has to at least be wary of, you know. Not as popular as it once was, but it does happen. SCV scout this time from Foxer, who is going to one racks expand, but high ground command center. Okay, interesting. I wonder if he plays Mute more often on the ladder and actually has some ideas to his tendencies. To say, like, okay, you know, when it gets down to the wire, he likes to, you know, aggressive gateway or something. I'm not sure. He is doing an awful lot of scouting. I mean, either Mute is like that, or Foxer just has been in one too many best of threes where a cheeky... Oh, speaking of cheeky. Oh. All right, interesting. Where a cheeky opponent has, you know, tried to insta-win game 3. This Marine scouted for, you know, proxy Stargate or any type of proxy. Great. This SCV wasn't a scout. It was actually going to hide something on its own. An armory is being hidden. I'm trying to think of what that is for. Command center gets put on location. Mute has no scouting whatsoever. Yet, he did go for a sentry. Looks like this is third unit. Well, yeah, you know, my brain was thinking of all the cheese I've ever seen from an armory this early on, and Thor Drop did occur to me, but Thor Drop usually proxies as well, right? Because the Thor, like, making its way across them, even if it comes with a medevac, is so long. But then I was wondering, yeah, could it be Drilling Claws? Which is something that... It has been buffed. So first of all, to bring, you know, I'm sure this Widow Mine Drilling Claws buff was for TvZ, not TvP. But it is going to be an effect here, so they're going to burrow faster with this upgrade. Now, what does this hallucination think that is? See, if the Widow Mines weren't just, you know, there and actually obvious, it could have been the Cyclone upgrade, I guess. I feel like if you really think things through, the Protoss could deduce that it is Drilling Claws, but this is the problem in StarCraft. You know, you don't have forever to think things through. Drilling Claws is completed. Hallucination. Continuing on the follow-up scouts. Let's see, like, are you hiding a Thor somewhere? What's going on? Did not see the Widow Mine drop. Does not know from where it is coming. But this is really the only thing I think it could be. It's just now the Widow Mines are certainly going to burrow. It's usually not a question anyway, but now they're going to get a much faster shot. Unfortunately, so far for Foxer, not finding that damage. Of course, the second, obviously the secondary effect of having Drilling Claws is that they are burrowed and invisible while burrowed. Forced to recall an observer, but that is a good recall. Take them out before you mistime the second shot. Get back to mining instantly. And this is, you know, the same exact damage that was done in the last game without the armory and Drilling Claws. Drilling Claws will affect the rest of this game, technically. You know, you're going to build Widow Mines against someone who has the seemingly preference to go into Charged Storm, right? But, well, I mean, well... I don't know. I don't know if Drilling Claws is really something that you're going to be like, oh, well, at least I have that. It could be. It could be. It honestly could, because repositioning Widow Mines is still important against Protoss, and having them cloaked, so maybe the observers that Foxer's been very good at scanning and killing aren't there when it's needed the most. When the final nail is about to be put in that coffin, the Zealots get warped in, they go for the charge, and it's like, shit, I didn't kill all the Widow Mines. Like, that could be helpful. Drop coming in for Foxer, though. Talking about this follow-up, which might be a little faster than Mute predicts. Certainly was for me. This is very quick. Just seconds before Sim is actually done. But more importantly, about 20 seconds before Storm is done. But feedback is still helpful here, and it is used. Cyclone on the natural, trying to get some damage done. Doesn't quite find anything useful. And Storm is now finished. But this is a game where Foxer really doesn't want to let Mute ever feel comfortable. Mute has gone into a kind of conservative opening. That third Nexus is not very fast. He's limited on units. He's limited on economy currently. Don't let him just sit back and grow despite this opener. And another double drop. Gonna team up here. Quad drop into the main, but that's where a lot of High Templars are waiting. Funnily enough, it would be better to just go for a frontal attack at this point, but you never know. Scan reveals with those High Templars, and he's like, fuck it, let's just go! Let's go! He's gonna try and split away from the storms, which are 100% coming down. Shield battery plus a cannon is also here to help out in the defense. And that might be a little bit too much. Well, maybe not. Good snipe on the High Templar that was close to having Storm, I guess. But this is inevitably gonna lead to a defense. There's just a little bit too much there, with the promise of warp-ins, and the promise of the rest of the army reacting. So Foxer is forced to flee, but that could have been worse, honestly. I mean, that could have been worse for both sides. You could have been way under-defended in the main. Foxer could have stubbornly stood his ground. Instead, he escaped with 4 medevacs and a handful of units. So Armory is never going to be found out, by the way. Getting to those 2-2 upgrades, very important. Or 2-1 is now on the way for Foxer. Far ahead of Mute, who is just finishing his +1. Second Forge is on the way, though. Second Robo, Robotics Bay. He's not getting to a 4th, though. So this isn't a Protoss collecting everything possible necessary and thriving. This is still a little of that picking and choosing. Foxer at 70 SCVs, 3 base saturated. 4th base, not on the way as of yet. Needs to afford the Ghost in the Ghost Academy. Got a good army. Equal upgrades as Terran approaches Protoss. That's a lot of Storm. And no Ghosts. So you're kind of just puffing up your feathers. I mean, a little more than that. Drop into the main. The High Templar is still there, but a little out of position. Goes for some of the warp-ins, but now the rest of the army is reacting, and this is when you have to get out before the Stalkers blink, and unfortunately loses 1 medevac full of units. Still saves a lot of medevacs at least. And still is stopping this 4th base from being a, freebie. Mute is banking a lot of money. Does want that 4th base. Just being very careful about how much he can be spread apart. 4th base on the way now for Foxer as well. I mean, production's looking good for both sides. But Mute is now feeling a little bit more confident about his position in this game. The drops do seem to have cleared out. Some scouting units going across, observers, probes, pylons. Yep. And the roaming army is something that Foxer has to be scared of. Opening up a potential secondary avenue in case the attacking comes from this direction. You can go around here. Mute is going to take the reins. A couple of Liberators were built. I do like that, actually. Usually, I would say Vikings have to be on the way because we are getting up to the Colossus production. But right now, with the scan that last revealed the army seeing no Colossus, I think having it roam around your base, you're just going to want those Liberators. And then maybe, hopefully, afford the Vikings a little later on. It's ideally you get to a good number of medevacs, a good number of Vikings, and then you go into Liberators, and that's nice and safe. But it's easier said than done. But Mute did entirely withdraw. Foxer has more room to breathe. Foxer is going to go for some Liberator harassment since they did not have to be used defensively. It's a planetary up on his 4th base very soon. Mute, very good at these, defensive, building up the slow and steady Protoss army. He's been very good about that. But does take some, one battle at a time. Doesn't necessarily have a lot of secondary forms of attack ready to go. And I feel like it's something I've seen from Mute before. Like, he had a really good game versus Byun, actually, I think, in something or another. And it was a little bit of that, too, where it was just like, oh, a couple of Zealot run-bys would really do well. And well, speaking of, tons of Zealots on the right side. Maybe they should be over here on the left side. Foxer scanned ahead, revealed very vulnerable Colossus against Bio, which is not usually what you would be thinking. But he does go after him. He goes after him again! Grabs that Colossus, but is going to eventually have to leave. The Zealots that were going for a big old run-by are now coming to the front lines. Medivacs have picked up and are trying to escape. Stalkers may be able to get one more Medivac. Nope, boost is going to be effective. Nope, goes down. Still. I mean, what a call to make, though. 3 Colossus were killed just to the Bio, just from not expecting the aggressive rabid Terran. It's like, oh, a cute little puppy. Oh, Jesus. But that was it is one of the problems of having all your Zealots elsewhere. But we see it a lot still from Protosses. It's just that timing worked out so well. Foxer was looking for an attack. He did have the scan to reveal, hey, your Zealots aren't on the front lines. Your Colossus are a little vulnerable. And Mute's like, punched back into his box, apparently. He's like, never again. Just gonna have my whole army in one big old ball, and then that's gonna be fine. And it is fine. It's fine. But, you know, these run-bys are usually what really starts to aggravate a Terran, especially if the Terran doesn't have those Liberators quite ready to go, doesn't have the Planetary quite ready to go. But here is a fight over a 5th base that is only just building. Not a fight that is really going Mute's way. Concave possibility here for Foxer is good. Fight gets out of the Colossus that was left over. And the rest of the ground army just simply does not size up to Foxer, who has managed to grab +3 attack against only the +1 armor of Mute. So these Zealots are simply disappearing. Foxer really seems to have found his flow. Mute is now the one in trouble, not taking particularly good fights and not having anything else happening. I said that was a 5th. That's actually a 6th. The 5th is on the right side already. Tons of scouting being done from Foxer at this point in time. He's using the drilling claws really well, so the Wood of Mines, they could have stayed at home, they could have been scared, they could have been waiting for Mute to attack into him. That would have been incorrect, because Mute hasn't been particularly aggressive. But it also probably wouldn't have been the best use of them. Now with them spread across the map, they're getting, you know, scouting. They're being observers. Does anyone else think that if a Wood of Mines burrowed, it should just immediately be revealed? Okay, anyway. The usage of it is really nice. I like that a lot. And if it wasn't Wood of Mines, just Marines every which way, because usually there is a secondary attack. Usually there is, you know, a DT attack or a Zealot attack. Not so much for Mute, but usually the case. Again, back on these just mono-a-mono fights. 3-1 versus 2-1. Foxer with a lot of bio, very powerful army, 7 Ghosts as well. Good number of Vikings, although there are 3 Colossus. They're just simply not getting the best fights. They're going down before they really get to engage, as the worst possible use of the Colossus in that Nexus is in a lot of trouble. Zealots do manage to connect, but for how long with only 1 armor against +3 attack? Medivacs are healing up the army to a certain degree, but it is getting awfully low. Stim after stim, Zealots getting a lot of connections, bio forced to flee, and the Medivac numbers are starting to dwindle. Mute does manage to repel that, but he lost the Colossus, he lost the Nexus. The upgrade's still a problem, although he's finally getting up to his own 3-2. But this is now the problem for the future for the Protoss side. In the first game, Foxer was constantly on the ropes, and the Protoss was just ready to attack with wave 5, 7, 8, 9. It's the opposite kind of in this case. Mute might be able to get to a decent supply again, but he's not quite ready for the technology that Foxer has been able to get to. Foxer is actually, I mean, hold on, one second. He is getting to Liberators. He's not quite there yet. Aggressive Storm placement, not quite microed correctly. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but Foxer's gonna be very thankful that Storm did not hit. His armor was very vulnerable. 6th base is a planetary. He could forfeit that. He could, if he doesn't see a good enough fight, and I don't know about this one. 1 Storm already injuring a very injured army. Liberators do appear, but jumping on top of the Blink Stalkers, maybe not the best use of them. Foxer losing bio. It's so injured. It's so stim. The Medivacs are out of juice. The Liberators are helping to a certain degree, but not in the most powerful position, and yet Foxer is holding on. Mute losing so many units because he was suddenly pulled 3 different directions. He was attacking the bio. He was attacking the Liberators. He was attacking the planetary. Everything was disjointed. And so while Foxer was also getting very low on units, on health, on Medivac energy, it was not the attack there for Mute. Both of them probably just happy to be alive, happy to be in this game. They back away from each other, but Foxer is on 6, almost 7 bases. Mute only on the 5 as he has replaced his 5th. And that is an absolutely bad sign for Mute. His supplies might look similar enough. You're like, okay, fair enough. But this is a very different scenario than 4 minutes ago when you're talking about like pure bio versus whatever else the Protoss has. When you're talking about a Terran player struggling to get that 4th up and running. This ain't it. This ain't it. Foxer has all the bases. He has all the map control. He has all the map vision. And he has all the technology. He's got good upgrades. He's got Liberators. He's got Caduceus Reactor even, so the Medivacs will always have energy. And Mute needs to either have his own Tempests to help out against the growing number of Liberators, or he has to have map control. And he absolutely does not have that. So if he is forced to continue being the defender, those Liberators will just siege hop. 4 Liberators becomes 8, becomes 12. You just aren't going to be running into that without Tempests. +2 ship weapons is not done, so they're not their absolute best, but still pretty freaking helpful. And on these chokes as well. Aggressive blink forward, but Bio does just run through the Liberator zones, and there's not much that Mute can do about that. Mute does have a Zealot run by, trying to force Foxer back home. Which it might. It might. Foxer's production limited as he gets closer to the supply cap. Unfortunately for Mute, I mean, just having these bases, which he knows are there, the sensor towers, and presumably this one as well, right? As really let the Terran grow much more than a Protoss would ever want. It really should be the opposite. Like, the Protoss should have as many bases, and the Terran should be taking as good of fights as possible. Now it's Mute who is desperately trying to take very cost-efficient fights, which frankly the Protoss army actually isn't like the one that usually does that. Decides to take this fight. Liberators are a little late to sieging. Bio forced to flee away from so many Colossus, but the Liberators will hold. Oh my god, do they hold. The Stalkers not in high enough numbers, take every single one of them out. And Foxer now with a significant supply lead. More Liberators coming through, chasing down the Colossus as well. Maybe not quite. Maybe not quite. Wanted to, but couldn't quite do it. And at least the siege hopping is a slow process. Mute acknowledging that he has to try and draw the line in the sand as far away from his own base as possible. Doesn't just retreat all the way home, but it's like, you know, a little bit of a... It's like a hop over to Mute's bases, and suddenly he's in trouble. Count of 7 Liberators about to be up to 11. We are getting +2 ship weapons as well, so they'll be even more effective. 3-3 headlong finish for Foxer. Mute still missing that armor upgrade. No transition over into Stargate, which is not the end-all be-all. You don't just get 2 Stargates in a fleet beacon and say, fair enough. Now the Liberators do nothing. Like, it's way more difficult than that. You're right, no Marauder slow. It would have been helpful. But it's, again, either you get into that Stargate play, or you start taking control over the map. Seems like Mute finding some control, threatening bases, forcing the Liberators to siege and re-siege. Goes to the front line a little too much. Does get punished, but just the Liberators. 1 Colossus goes down, so the Bio is allowed to get too close, but there's a planetary over here that Mute would have to then dedicate on. He doesn't want that army to get split up again like last time. You gotta be so careful about this, but the Liberators are certainly close enough to defend this. Zealots are ready to go for a run-by, I assume. Kind of got caught maybe by the Bio. So that didn't really work out, and with so many planetaries, you know, the simple Zealot run-bys are not going to cut it. This is where DT Blink would help, but we are not very rich on the side of Mute. And he does need a certain amount of bank to, you know, try and reinforce. Bank heavily in favor of Foxer currently. And Foxer is just... end goal for him is getting the Liberators to tighten the noose, you know? If he can get those Liberators next to a base that then becomes next to the warp-in point, that then becomes next to the gateways, well, then he wins. And we are going to get ourselves a little base trade, aren't we? Of course! Base trades! Planetary's not going to hold for very long. That does go down, but we're talking about another base, another planetary, another base, another base, another base. SCVs are falling, but Mute is also losing his own economy, perhaps an attack into the main as well. Liberators currently not doing anything. I mean, having them just on siege not doing anything is the worst of all the choices. This is the worst one. Does need to bring them back. He does need to bring them back, prioritizing his reinforcements, just scrambling every which way, looking every which way. Does manage to get his reinforcements to get into a choke. He's trying to build some engineering base, fastest building, most health available for the little wall. I absolutely love it, but it's not going to be enough to hold. Storms, Stalkers blinking in. That is going to cover the reinforcements, although once again injuring his own units in the process. Where are those Liberators? Are they actually still alive? Yes, they are. 9 Liberators. The rest of the Bio army looking to return home, looking to protect the production, both of them dealing massive amount of damage to each other's economy. Foxer has 1 healthy base, Mute about to have kind of 0 healthy bases, but still both of them mining to a certain degree. It's going to come down to who takes the better army fight. And I don't know if Foxer can win that. He has lost a lot of his Marauders every which way. The Liberators are fantastic, yes, but they're not what you want when things get chaotic. They want to be in a choke. Ghost getting killed before they're very effective, too. It's all down to the Liberators. If Mute takes a fight in the Liberators, he probably dies. If Foxer doesn't siege them up appropriately, then Foxer probably dies. Foxer is about to be supply blocked, by the way. All those command centers he had now dead. He is trying to rebuild his barracks. It looks like he was prepping for an even, more severe base trade. Good catch on the observer while he still has a couple of scans, although that should be very limited, right? Three orbitals ain't bad. More than I thought he'd get away with. Mute does have the gold base, something that Foxer was not aware of, although so close to scouting. If they build an assimilator. One Liberator there would help. And we are at 12 Liberators, so that wouldn't be a bad call at all. That's a big Protoss army. The Liberators, so many of them pointing the wrong direction, but still some are helping. The bio has to split away from the storms. These Liberators have got to turn around and help. The supplies currently even. The Liberators do siege up. Will they win the fight? Choke is now being used. The Zealots going into the choke against the Planetary too. The Colossus fighting SCVs instead of the actual army. Foxer holding on. Mute now going to kill that last Liberator. We're down to just one. And now can camp a little bit of this production line. Both of them taking so many losses. Foxer has the mining. Mute has the mining. Who gets to reinforce better? Who takes the next battle? I don't know. But that wasn't quite perfect for either player. Foxer could have responded faster with the libs, with the pullback, with the split. Mute could have, I mean, honestly, maybe not just gone into a bunch of Liberators. I don't know, but this is hard to call. I do want to give it to Mute a little bit. Just with the gold-based mining, right? As we can see, it's not that much more mining, but it is more. He is missing an upgrade. He is up against +2 ship weapon Liberators, but far less of them now. Oh, Foxer, he needs to know where the army is. He cannot take an abrupt fight. He doesn't know where the army is, but then Mute doesn't know either. Mute going into the third. Can't kill the command center, funnily enough, really, but here are the Liberators. They're going to siege up. EMP on the one High Templar as well. I mean, what a delicate fight. What a delicate balance right now. One Liberator over here, though, would just be so amazing. Or Widowmine. One Widowmine would be so amazing. Actually, Widowmines in general would be amazing right now. So difficult to think of in the heat of the moment. I mean, is this factory even alive? It is. He didn't float it. He could build a couple of Widowmines. That actually would be so useful. Of course, all it takes is one observer with the army, and then suddenly it's not useful. So there's like very much a reason why you wouldn't default go to it, but there's also more emphasis on the Zealots now. Mute trying his best to avoid the Liberators. Still has to tackle Planetary, though. Liberator's not going to help this fight, but the Planetary is going to help against the Zealots. Not enough SCVs to mass repair it. That Planetary is fallen. Marines do not want to fight the Colossus. Not enough Marauders to really tackle them like he was earlier on. And it does seem like this game is falling through Foxer's fingers. He will take down 2 Colossus. Oh, barely not getting that last shot. And you got to wonder in a situation like this what Marauder Slow would have done in this 25-minute game. Finally tries to go and see for the other bases, but warp in happens, and that does seem to be it. Foxer cannot win. 30 army supply down. He needed that Planetary, which even then it was starting to mine out. He needed his own secretive base. I will say, I think Foxer was in a winning position, but Mute did what he had to do. Make it chaotic. Make it to the Liberators were facing the wrong way. Weren't in position. Weren't together with the bio. And this is going to be it by the looks of things. Zealots on the right side are depleted very quickly. Great EMP as well. Liberators are still up. I mean, this is one of the better fights that Foxer could have possibly taken as the Liberators destroy the last Colossus. The Immortal also goes down. The bio is going to win against the Stalkers. And wait a second. Can Foxer still win this? Oh my god. That was probably the worst fight Mute could have taken. Zealots on the right side deleted because of that missing armor a lot. Because of that. The EMP was fantastic as well. And then the left side, just letting those Liberators free farm. Healing position gonna be abused, trying to keep this army alive. It's the last army that Foxer will have. Healing is so fucking good, man. Medivac's being targeted, but it's the healing shrine that's gonna continue healing them up. More units lost, but Foxer's down to 18 supply, and Mute still has a couple of reinforcements in his pocket. Foxer cannot say the same. He has one SCV in a dream. The probes are gonna be pulled. There is no more healing except for the shrine. Oh my god. This is getting so fucking close. The healing shrine is there. He could go back to it, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. Oh my god. No. Not only gets Marauder slow. 27 minutes in. 17 supply. Hey, Marauder slow. That would be pretty good. Oh no. There's a storm. Yeah, you can dodge it though. I mean, this is you know, in a micro trainer, storms are easy to dodge, fair enough, right? And this is basically micro trainer. What the fuck is happening? Marauder slow still isn't done. Acceleration through to the healing shrine. One more Marauder dies, but one more Marauder reinforces. Oh my good god. Concussive shells is going to be so helpful. It's going to finish. It's going to help. 2 more Marauders. Mules. 6 SCVs now. Foxer making the comeback happen. Mute. He's out of mining in his main. Natural and third. He cannot mine from the gold. He admits he's defeated there. He pulls back. What? No! I cannot believe this is how it's going to end. Question mark? Healing shrine? 1 medevac might also be worth it. He does not have any refineries, though. He has to build a refinery, which he is choosing to do. He wants at least 1 medevac and a couple more Marauders. He's going to run out of Marauder production. 3 storms or an Archon as well, honestly, is pretty freaking good, though. Mute goes back to mining on the Nexus. Foxer wants that Nexus killed. He wants to stop the mining entirely. Not quite going to be able to do so. And now the bluff game. We're in a game of poker at this moment. Are you going to storm? Do I have to retreat? Do I stim again to retreat and you don't storm? That's having storm in the future, you know? Like, oh my god, do you all in and try and kill the High Templars when he's not paying attention? Whoo! Main base is lifting on over. Foxer now ahead by 1 supply, scans ahead once again. He wants to kill. He wants to get to a one-shot position, which he is very close to doing. I absolutely love... It is so funny. He controls the healing shrine. If Mute somehow could dislodge it or you know, abuse it as well, right? If he could use it as well, this would be so different. Only sends the Marauders forward. Doesn't want to... Oh, the force field! Oh, it's not quite good enough! The force field was such a good idea. It was such a good idea. Oh, that was almost so clutch. Apparently not good enough, though. Apparently not. Oh, oh no. There's no more storm. The High Templars are dead. The Stalkers and the Sentry will not hold up against this. The Zealots come in. The stim has to happen once more. Some Marauders going down. The focus fire, though, is not going to be enough. Foxer, 1 unit at a time. 27-minute combat shields is going to win this game. What? That is the craziest game I've seen in at least a year. That should not have happened. But what a game. What a show for Persephone. Big round of applause for Persephone. Healing Shrine. MVP. Wow.